Welcome to Sense of Style. I'm Stuart. When I first started collecting fragrances, it was all about personal grooming. It was about looking good, smelling good, that kind of thing. Boy, that's changed. The last couple of years, I've become obsessed with the idea of a signature scent, like a personal identity, a personal brand, making your mark on the world through your sense of smell. I mean, we do that in other ways, the way we dress, our haircuts, and, the car we drive, that kind of thing. But the sense of smell goes directly to the limbic system, the emotional part of our brain, and it can really make an impact on other people. So what I've done today, I have 8 different archetypes of 8 different types of men, and that's kind of a fun starting point. And I'm going to give them signature scents. And it'll just, I think, help some people get an idea what would be a good signature scent for them based on the archetypes I'm describing. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. It's a little bit different. Let's get to it. Fragrance number 1 is Maison Margiela's Jazz Club. The archetype is artsy urbanite. And about 15 years ago, that's pretty much what I was. I lived and worked in Toronto. I was really interested in the arts. I always have been. Yeah, I can kind of relate. And this would have been a fantastic signature for me back then. But this really does fit that vibe. And the great thing about the replica line of fragrances is they've already created a memory hook for people, right? They're going for a specific time and place. In this case, a jazz club. But the beautiful thing is, it's not just a jazz club. It's the best possible jazz club because, yes, you get the rum here, you get the tobacco, but a real jazz club wouldn't smell so good. You're also getting a lot of pink pepper and you're getting a really nice vanilla note. So it's a best possible jazz club. It's a really attractive scent. And if we can use the memory hook that you get from Maison Margiela, the replica line, and transfer it to ourselves, I think that would work out really well. Using this to enhance a personal brand has certainly worked for a number of cocktail bars in New York City who have been accused repeatedly of spraying this on their cloth menus and of spraying it around their cocktail bars just to create a vibe. And I mean, why not? It is the very first male fragrance that came from the replica line from Maison Margiela. It is always among their top 3 sellers. It's a very seductive scent among other things. It's got good performance. Jazz Club. Fragrance number 2 is Tom Ford's Noir Extreme, and the archetype here is one of a sensualist. And a sensualist basically explores their senses as much as possible. For example, somebody that collects fragrances explores the sense of smell. Yeah, I think we are perfect sensualists, to be quite honest. But if you're looking at it from an occupational standpoint, think of something like a chef. They explore the sense of taste, or an athlete that explores the physicality of life. So yeah, somebody that's really seriously interested in the senses. And the reason I picked this fragrance was it's definitely the most sensual fragrance that I have. It doesn't overwhelm you with sweetness or spiciness or anything like that. It just kind of envelops you. There's like a softness to the texture of the fragrance. It's got a different feel to it. The main note here is so important. It's kulfi. It's a very sensual note. You're talking about something that is ice cream, but not just ice cream. It's an Indian ice cream that's very thick and creamy, so it's a different texture than regular ice cream. And so you get the coolness of the ice cream, but then you also get the spiciness of the Indian spices they put in. So you get the warmth of the spices, you get the coolness of the ice cream, you get the thick texture. I mean, it's a cornucopia of sensual experience. And the way they do it in this fragrance is so cool as well. The spices start with cardamom, nutmeg, and saffron. And then you get the vanilla note. I mean, that's a standard. But then the cool aspect comes from mastic, which is a resin, which has a turpentine vibe to it. Like, think very, very fresh. And that kind of runs in a very thin, sort of slight way. I didn't really notice it until I got the clone, which didn't have it. And then I kind of missed it. It's such an odd experience. Fragrance number 3 is Drakkar Noir from Laroche, and this is for a traditionalist. Now that can come in 2 different ways. You could have worn this fragrance in the 1980s and you have found no reason to change. You really like it, you're going to stick with it. And that's one type of traditionalist. The other type is, I think this would be a fantastic signature scent for someone in their late teens, early 20s. It's different, it's original, it's outside the box, it'd make you smell distinct, it would really make your mark that way. I think that'd be another type of traditionalist. Definitely, 1982 it came out, a traditionalist scent. Now this is what a lot of people like to call a barbershop fragrance. So essentially you're going to get a lot of lavender, a lot of oak moss. Back in the early 80s, two notes were really popular. It's like fir tree and pine. You got pine in polo green. You get pine here as well. So it's a little bit on the fresh side. You have 8 other aromatic notes, a lot of woods, and a little hint of amber. But ultimately a barber shop. And if you were wearing this in the 1980s, at the time, musically, there was a second British invasion. The first one was in the 60s when the Beatles came over. In the 1980s, a lot of new wave bands came from Britain. They invaded North America, took over our music scene. But the same thing happened here. This was a French invasion when it came to fragrances, because this was a juggernaut. Prior to this, Polo Green, that was a Ralph Lauren fragrance. It's an American fragrance. And Calvin Klein's Obsession, another American house, they were really big. They dominated American sales. This thing sold out 10 years in a row. It was iconic, kind of like the way Sauvage is today, although without the stigma. Nobody really hated on this for whatever reason. I don't think there were too many men into fragrances anyway. People were just glad men were smelling good. Now, the fragrance isn't perfect. It has one flaw, and that's to do with the oak moss. I owned a vintage bottle, and I finished it about 5 years ago, just ironically before I started collecting. And that was so much more potent than what you can get today, because in 1995, IFRA banned the use of real oak moss. Apparently, it was an allergen. So 2% of the population were allergic to it. Now you're getting synthetic oak moss, so it doesn't have the same depth that it used to. So this is one of those fragrances that's definitely not quite as deep and rich as it used to be. It still smells really good though. You just have to overspray a lot. But yeah, traditionalist. Fragrance number 4 is Givenchy Gentleman Reserve Privee, and this is for the elegant man. This fragrance has an awful lot of iris. Iris is seen as classy and elegant. However, there's a ton of iris fragrances in my collection. I picked this one because it is the most, I think, modern iris fragrance. I'm not saying it's exactly a gourmand, but there are gourmandy elements here that make it modern, sort of on top of the iris element. So the iris is there. And then you've got amber, so some sweetness. You've got chestnut, a little bit of nuttiness. And then you've got, I think the most important note here is that whiskey note. And here's the weird thing. In doing my research for this, they actually use whiskey absolute for this. And that apparently is very rare. For instance, Maison Margielas, you didn't use a real rum note. They created one, so it kind of smells like rum. In this particular case, whiskey absolute, apparently it's very expensive. They used real whiskey absolute in this. Like, that's something they use in niche fragrances. They did dial it down a little bit so it didn't overwhelm everything else. But yeah, they really went for it with this fragrance. Another thing I like about this that makes it a little bit different is it's an evening scent. A lot of iris fragrances are neither evening or day. They just kind of are. This was definitely an evening iris. I think the only other one I can think of is Jour Homme Parfum, 2014 version. That makes it a little bit different. And I think this is still, I mean, I know Gentleman Society Ombre is very popular, but I think this is still the fragrance to get from Givenchy. I think it'd be a really good signature scent, good performance, good all-around fragrance. Fragrance number 5 is Musk Ravajour by Frederic Malle. And this is a very seductive fragrance. This would be the archetype of the lover boy, the ladies' man, that kind of thing. Now, not everybody gets a seductive scent from this. I do think most people do. I certainly would be afraid to wear it because I think with a fragrance like this on a date, you're going to be sending out some pretty strong signals. And I think most men need to have some kind of game to back this up because yeah, to me, it just smells like sex. The funny thing about this fragrance is it uses the push-pull method, which is very common among seducers. The idea you want to keep a woman off balance. You want to draw them in and then push them away and draw them in. It creates excitement. But that's what the notes do here. You're going to get something really sweet on the one hand. Vanilla, tonka, amber, cinnamon. Lovely, lovely vanilla scent. But then you're also going to get the push away. You're going to get things like animal notes, cloves, gaiac wood, and musk. A lot of musk here. And so, yeah, It's even constructed in a very seductive manner. And so yeah, this one was obvious. Fragrance number 6 is Paco Rabanne's Pure Excess, and this is what I call a party boy fragrance. I had a full bottle of this, but I had to trade it. Somebody was offering me a really expensive niche fragrance for it, but I love this fragrance. I think it's amazing. I had this initially. As soon as I tried it, I went out and the next week I bought another bottle. That doesn't happen very often. I really like it. But I have so many fragrances. I have a little bit here. That's enough for me. But I think it's a great party scent. It kind of smells like Coke a little bit. It's a lot of dark, rich, sweet notes. You're going to get vanilla. There's a sugar note here. There's myrrh. There's cinnamon. And then there's a liquor note, so it's a little bit boozy. It performs really well. It pushes out a ton, so people are definitely going to notice. And I mean, this is another one that's just so easy. Of all the sort of party boy fragrances in my collection, I mean, this one is the one that, you know, I'd like to wear at a party. Fragrance number 7 is Hugo Boss bottled Oud Saffron, and this would be for the exotic guy, the guy that likes to travel a lot, experience other things. And I mean, I like that. I like oud a ton, and that's really the core of this fragrance. There's a lot of oud here, but even as far as oud goes, this is quite different because it's not just an oud fragrance. It's got a lot of saffron. It's got a very different feel. So most ouds, you know, you're going to get the oud triangle. Oud, rose, and saffron. But most ouds are rose heavy or oud heavy. This is the only one I've tried that's saffron heavy, so there's a certain amount of freshness here. You're also going to get a labdanum note, so it's a sweet oud. So it's a very traditional oud, except for the amount of saffron you get. It gives it a different feel. You get really good performance as well. Definitely an exotic fragrance. I think, at least in the Western world, if you're living in the Middle East, yeah, it's pretty conventional, but yeah. And finally, we have Eau de Narcisse Bleu from Hermes. And this is my very unconventional pick for the businessman archetype. I know most people would be thinking, you know, that would be Vetiver or maybe something by Prada, but this would be fantastic for a businessman. I think it's very fresh, it's very clean, it's very different too, but it's not going to offend anybody. It's an eau de cologne, so it's not going to project a whole ton, but it's a very pleasant and very fresh fragrance. So Eau de Narcisse Bleu. Narcisse is a narcissus, which is a genus of plant of which a daffodil is the main plant, right? So it's a fresh floral feel. There's a little bit of orange blossom here as well and some bergamot. And it comes off as quite green and fresh. You would think white floral is a little creamy. I don't really get a whole lot of that. I think the narcissus is more green than creamy. But as I said, eau de cologne, not a lot of projection. Long lasting though, 6 hours, very high quality, different kind of scent, but I think it would work really well in the office. So signature scents, yes, I am obsessed with them. I think about them probably more than I should. I have a new one, Lorenzo Villarese's Musc. It's really nice. And I just think it's neat to have one. It's difficult to have a signature scent if you've got a lot of fragrances. I wear mine about 3 times a week. I'm probably wearing 2 or 3 fragrances a day. I'm just glad I have one. I love the whole idea of a personal identity, making a mark on the world, that kind of thing. But yeah, a little bit different today. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.